service. Feel that vibe. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We got Anth OOO today, out of office.
People are starting to think that Anth and I are the same person.
What do you mean?
Because if he's in studio, I'm not in studio.
True.
Kind of feels like that.
If I'm in studio, he's not in studio.
Yep, I can see it.
Was the last time we were all in studio for the draft extravaganza, or did we have one post draft that we were all at?
I think the Wednesday? No.
I think it was.
Maybe.
No, I think there was one after the draft extravaganza that you came in.
Well,
for
Bandwagon
Sundays.
Boy 1 is back. Where were you, broski?
I was in Tokyo, the land of the rising sun.
And what'd you think of it?
Would you look at this?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, Japan was 10 out of 10. It was a great trip.
Did you throw a football to anyone, and as soon as they caught it, you just
Level
Micah
them?
Parson them?
No. People out in Japan, they just don't give an F who you are. Like they're not paying attention to you. They're not. It's not like it's like an everyday thing for them that there's people like traveling around, and there's a lot of people.
Well,
I mean,
it's the tiniest fucking place on. It's the tiniest, biggest country on earth.
biggest
I don't know
takeaway.
if
Biggest
it is, but-
takeaway though, like there was no garbage on the streets, and there was no garbage cans on the streets. Like that, you couldn't.
So it's everyone just hooping their trash?
Yeah, you got to
Like you finish a pack of gum and you just put the trash up your butthole?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right up your butthole. And then everything, like they're so efficient with space, like even under the overpasses and stuff like that, they have it jammed with like buildings and restaurants.
Lots of vending machines?
Lots of vending machines all over the place.
Well, yeah, they have to find every square inch.
every
too.
sure inch is being maximized and utilized out there.
And good for them.
Bidets on every seat, heated toilet seats on every seat. Yeah, it's crazy.
So you can have a poop.
Did you
and then
try-
have a sip of water?
Yep.
Did
No.
you try to
Yes.
push America's game in Japan? Did you try to tell anyone about the Dallas Cowboys?
Yes. And they didn't understand me, and I just kind of said, "Hi," and then I walked away. Did a crack 'em if you got him when we went to Atami. We
What's a Tommy?
Atami was this. It was about a half an hour away from Tokyo, so we took a bullet train there. Sorry, it's longer than a half an hour, but by bullet train, which goes 300 kilometers per hour.
Was Brad Pitt on it?
Brad Pitt was not on it, which was a little disappointed. I thought I was Brad Pitt on it, so I started fighting this random guy, and he said, "No, I'm not a bad guy."
Naturally.
But we went out to this thing to go to like a hot spring because they have natural hot springs.
Yeah.
And then they've created like spas around it, and you can't wear clothes, so you're in there naked with a bunch of old dudes. But we went all the way out to Atami because we wanted to get like
That's where the best old dudes are.
Yeah, all the best old dudes were in Atami. But when we got there and we walked in, we got yelled at to get out because we had tattoos. They don't let you in them with tattoos
Yakuza.
because they think you're Yakuza. So and we researched like onsens that you could go to with tattoos, and they kind of said certain places. But anyways, that was a big disappointment. So we went up to a Lawson's, which is
They're
like
like dark side.
Yeah.
Dark side. Get at it. Pointing at your
Yeah. Get
Star
out.
Wars tattoos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Point out Star Wars. Oh, no, not
Dark
Well,
side. Only rebels here.
only rebels. Yeah.
Well, we are glad to have you back. It's shitty that I'm obviously out of office, and I probably won't be back there Wednesday. But next Sunday, the three of us will be back in studio, repping that Star Sun.
Yep.
I noticed you guys have
yep.
glasses, and you don't have any crackums. What is going on there?
No, we do have crackums.
Well, Sunday services, we're still trying to figure out what's going on. One of the new traditions here is
Is mixed drinks.
yeah. You can hear it
Interesting.
if you're audio listener. Jingle if you jangle.
So we'll do a crack midway through when I replenish our
Yeah.
our mixers. You know,
Um,
a big highlight though of
Yes,
the trip.
yes,
we
sorry.
in Tokyo. We went to Park Hyatt, which is the same hotel that Bill Murray stays in, Lost in Translation, and we had a $30 drink in the bar, and took a photo there.
and did you ask?
Wasn't the highlight
Did you
of the
ask
trip, but it was
the staff what did Scarlett Johansson whisper to him at the end of the movie?
They didn't know, but you
Didn't
could
know.
see people were taking photos where it was. Yeah, but it was cool.
Cool.
Yep, good trip. Definitely want to
Oh,
go
we're
back.
glad you're back.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely
dog.
want to go back. It would be great if the Cowboys play in Japan.
Hey, as much as me and Ant had fun trying to fucking wrangle this three-headed horse with just the two of us, there were some high-stress moments, but we figured it out. Hey, it dropped twice.
We lost. It dropped twice last time, and we
figured it out.
Shipped the Millennium Falcon back up, and we got her flying.
Yeah, Ant's just like, we're pulling the plug. Shut down OBS, restarted it.
Yeah, that's what you have to do.
Yeah. There was.
Okay, so what do we got going on? Cowboy stuff, fellas. What do we have happening?
Cowboy stuff. So,
what are some main dates coming up, AJ? I know we were just looking at that. There's some pretty big dates coming up. I think we start off with that before we hit into that great article that you wrote, because I'm pretty sure you were saying OTAs kick off tomorrow.
Yeah,
so we're starting to get right back into the NFL season. It's been that point where you have the draft, you have free agency, you're kind of in a lull. Now there's pretty much going to be a couple main dates coming up starting tomorrow. So you got the OTA offseason workouts that start May 22nd to 23rd. Then you have May 25th, May 30th, June 1st to 2nd, and then June 13th to 15th. And then you have mandatory minicamp June 6th to 8th. And you were saying, like, that's not a hell of a lot of time for the team to get together and actually start doing stuff prior to training camp.
It's 12 dates, and it's not consecutive either. So you got to think, like, if you had a slew of 5 days in a row, you can get some momentum going and kind of pick up where you left off. But this is so chunked up that, you know, to me, it just brings my respect level up for how much, and I don't pay attention, maybe all professional sports are like this, but for NFL specifically, like, these players don't have a lot of time to get whipped into shape. And it really does put the importance of having a quality NFL ready college team, or being part of that, how to help that translation or that transfer from college to NFL football.
Right.
So, yeah, that's just.
I mean,
the crazy thing about all these, the crazy thing about these dates is none of it's in pads. Like most other sports,
right?
You're in, like, basketball and baseball. Like, I mean, you're shooting a ball or you're hitting a ball, right? Whereas football, the majority of it, the most important practices are in pads, and you don't even start doing that till late into training camp.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for a lot of this, though, I mean, it's still just kind of getting your feet work, getting some of the plays, some of the newer players who are coming in. You're making some adjustments. You're feeling it out. If you think about
warming the body up.
Yeah, warming the body up. When is the first padded practice?
It won't be till like day 3 or 5 in training camp. So
yeah, so not even
end of July, start of August. So long ways away. So this stuff, these OTA offseason workouts, the May 22nd and then the June 13 and 15, Micah, those are the ones that Micah's going to miss because he's staying to bulk up. But everybody has to be there for the mandatory mini camp or you start getting fined. So then they have these dates. And then after that June 8th mandatory mini camp, these guys aren't on the field together for almost pretty close to a month and a half until they'll be back on the field in Oxnard together.
Mm-hmm.
I do like giving the players some ample time off just to kind of reset their brains and get them to do whatever type of off-season training that they might want to do. Like, you can't be a player that comes into even an OTA or a mini camp out of shape. Like, most of these guys are doing their conditioning off-season to make sure that they're up, don't you think?
There's always one guy in the NFL that you hear about that came into camp completely out of shape. They've had, even Zeke had got some flack prior years. Eddie Lacy had got flack a couple years. Albert, I think his name was Hainsworth, came in after he had a huge contract, has a fat fucking slob. So you don't want to be that guy around the NFL circles that's coming to any of these workout dates looking like he's just been partying all off season.
Ultra Cowboys saying that CeeDee Lamb takes no days off. Dude is built different.
CeeDee's yoked.
Yep, shredded. Give me some of those abs.
You want to see his abs?
Give me some of those abs.
Okay. And then we're going to get into...
Yeah, once AJ's looking up for the CeeDee Lamb pick. So I just wanted to look at these dates, and then we're going to jump in. Alex wrote an article that you can find on CowboysCanFan.com. And it basically, we're going to go over all of the free agents coming up in 2024, 2025, 2026. And I believe you went all the way up to 2027, AJ. So after we Glance. I think he's. I hope he's in college or NFL here.
Yeah.
We're not looking at him when he's in high school.
Yeah, hey.
This is an
The bots are
Oklahoma.
coming.
Yeah, age
Is
check
it? Okay.
Age check it.
Age check
I
it.
don't know. That's the one that came up. Oh, I guess there's this one too. This one's probably the one you guys were wanting to see. This one, audio listeners, you're missing out here. You have to head over to youtube.com/
Yeah, this is more
Cowboys
recent
Can. There
because
we
you can
go.
see
Yeah.
he's inked up a bit more.
What
Can't
CD's
ink over those abs.
Big. He's
CD's
big. He's
inked
huge.
right up.
And he's fucking solid. Lanky, but he actually looks pretty nice there. Okay.
Before we jump into the article, I did see this article about Devontae Adams
Yeah.
naming his top wide receivers in the NFL, and he put CD tied at 5, but ahead of like Cooper Kupp and DeAndre Hopkins and a couple other guys. So if you have a guy like Devontae Adams, who's arguably the best NFL wide receiver right now, having CD Lamb in his top five, you know he's got game. Top 5.
Well, we have 3 of the top 25 youngest top
Under
sorry,
25.
under 25
Under
stars.
25.
Top 25 under 25 stars.
Aw.
Ian Trevon Diggs at number 25, CD Lamb at number 9, and of course at number 1, the Lion himself,
Yeah,
the
so
linebacker
so
himself.
PFF does their top 25 players under 25. And yeah, they had Trevon Diggs. I was going to ask you guys about that after we went over this list, but we're doing
It's
it
a
now.
good it's a good segue into it because we're all 3 of these guys we're going to touch on coming up here.
It's a great segue,
But what do you
segue
guys-
from
but what do you
CD's,
guys-
CD's abs to top under 25 players.
Well, what do you guys think, though? In my opinion, I think Trevon got a little bit shafted getting 25 out of 25.
You know, it's because he didn't have as big of a flashy season, and cornerbacks are really hard to judge if they're not making interceptions, right? The only reason you know that they're good on other teams is because maybe you don't hear about their names, and then they shut down your receiver when you're watching the team, so you're like, oh, fuck, this guy's like, why is our receiver not catching balls? Oh, it's Bradbury or whoever, right? So I just think if you're not
He got shafted.
Well, who else
no,
is
if
on,
you're not,
who
if
else
you're
is on
not
the
getting,
list?
if you're not getting interceptions, so I'm just saying this is why I'm okay with it, is because if you're not getting interceptions, it's gonna hurt just how people are gonna rank you because I mean, we're all stat whores.
The other side of it is that when he was getting those interceptions, people weren't giving him the type of respect that he has. So then when he becomes more of a shutdown cornerback, it's like he definitely can't win. The question though would be if there was arguably 22 other players on the list that are completely better than Diggs, then I could see it. But I kind of agree with Anth. I mean, he probably.
Yeah, but this isn't even players. This is players under 25. I don't even think there's.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't even think there's 25 players better in the NFL.
Okay, well, let's just quickly take a look at the list.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if it was him at 25 as like out of the whole NFL, I would be like, okay, that makes sense. Might even be a little bit high for him.
Right,
but for
right.
players just under 25,
Yeah.
that's a very small percentage of the NFL. Like, that's probably, I'd say, this is a rough guess, 30 to 50% of the NFL is 25 and under. So I don't like that. I think he should have been at least top 15.
Okay,
I
so
think he got snubbed.
So we got number 1, Micah Parsons. Number 2, Justin Jefferson. Number 3, Tristan Wirfs.
OT in Tampa Bay.
4, Jamar Chase. 5, Sauce Gardner. So Sauce Gardner's had 1 season, and they have him on the list.
Yeah,
over
that's.
See, I think that's bullshit.
So that's where I would contest.
But that's why, because he had a really good season last year. I mean, I bet you.
But yeah,
Here's the thing. I think that if they're ranked, and then Patrick Surtain, the second is
Surtain?
7th. Yes, Surtain. So we've got 2 guys who I think Diggs is better than, ranked a hell of a lot higher than him.
yeah. So
I like the Patrick Surtain one a lot better than I like the Sauce Gardner. At
But
least
should they-
Surtain's done it.
Yeah,
At least
Surtain's
Surtain's done
been
it
there
for 2
3
years.
Should they be 18 plus spots ahead of him?
Yeah, well,
No.
and Ultra saying Sauce did not have 11 interceptions.
Exactly. So
But this
let's
is-
see what other CBs
so
are ahead of him. Let's just look at CBs.
Just look at
ahead of
CDs.
him,
Okay,
So there's
CeeDee
Lamb
Lamb's
at
number
9.
which I respect that.
Thomas, Waddle, Jonathan Taylor. Okay.
Taylor's under 25. Okay.
Yeah. Penny
Higgins,
Sewell,
Christian
Higgins. Just listing them all off.
St. Brown, Trevor Lawrence, Garrett Wilson,
Drake London,
20. Kyle Pitts.
Like Kyle Pitts should not be ahead of Trevon Diggs.
Yeah.
Not a fucking. There's that one for sure should not be the case. AJ Terrell, he's been good. Also shouldn't be ahead of Trevon Diggs.
Okay, so
there's two guys right there.
So CB Tariq Woolen is ahead of Diggs.
Yeah, so those two guys ahead of him right there shouldn't be. At very least, he should be top 20 just by quickly looking at the list. And I think he should be fringe top 15. But
I'll take top 25.
Yeah, we also have two Cowboys in the top 10. You got CeeDee Lamb at 9, which I respect that and believe that wholeheartedly that he's the top 10 under 25. And then Micah Parsons is a no fucking brainer. He is the number one best player in the NFL under 25 years old.
Arguably,
so, I mean, you can't be too mad about the list.
No,
but I just feel like Diggs gets shafted. He gets the interceptions. He gets no love. So then he comes back, has a pretty good year as a shutdown guy, and then still doesn't get much love for it.
Yeah, go AJ. Go to Sauce Gardner one more time. What is there? He's up in like the top 3.
Some might call it an overreaction for Gardner to be so high on this list. Hey, that's us.
Guess what? It's us.
Yep, that's us, baby.
But the 1 year was so impressive, it's hard to have him much lower. Guys, he recorded an elite 90 coverage grade with 20 forced incompletions and less than 400 receiving yards.
So that's the thing. They're basically going on these grades with their own PFF metric, right? So they have their metric, and it puts these players into a certain percentile at their position based on how they grade players.
Yeah.
And PFF, I mean, we use PFF quite a bit, but it's known to be flawed a little bit in my mind.
Yeah, so Diggs remains one of the most polarizing players on these types of lists. Exactly, but he deserves to make the list at the end of it. His 11 interceptions in 2021 led to the league by, I can't even read it.
Led the league by a margin. But of course, it's well documented that he allowed more than 1,000 yards in coverage. His coverage grade that season finished at 65. This past year, though, he allowed fewer yards against the coverage and his coverage grade moved up to 67. He's a feast or famine type of player, but his talent and ball skills allow him to make major plays.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So maybe not top 10, maybe not top 10 on the list, but definitely in the top 15.
Certainly.
Hey man, but
25.
we got number one though. We got number one, and you know what? The best thing about these three players, they're coming up on their contracts.
Oh, is that? And is this the segue? Well,
this is the segue.
And how Cowboy fans of us to be complaining about a Cowboy player ranked on the list when we have 2 in the top 10. Okay.
Hey man, I believe he's been a very good player, and his payday's about to show. His payday's about to show that guaranteed. If once he's paid and you put the top 25 guys under, he's going to be up there with the highest paid of the guys for sure.
Okay, so this is 2024, right, AJ?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is 2024.
So this is 2024 free agency. Who we have to sign.
What year is it?
2024. Well, it's 2023 right now, but this is next year's. So right now on the screen for anyone listening, we're going to go through the next few years in free agency, and Alex has kind of narrowed it down to must sign, high priority, and low priority with each individual player that is going to be hitting free agency in that year.
Yeah, and you guys could either agree or disagree as to where I place these guys, but the must signs are obvious. I don't think we're going to argue. And in 2024, Trevon Diggs contract comes up. We got to bring him back for many, many more moons to come.
Must sign.
He has to be. He's a must sign. They should be trying to. So this is the thing though.
So this is your whole list right here, right?
Time out. Time out.
Okay.
He's a free agent. Like he's still under contract in 2024 though. Because this year his third? No, you're right. It's his 4th year this year.
Yeah.
You're right. That's why they should probably try to fucking sign him this year.
Well, that's
before.
the thing.
What if he goes off and has an absolute crazy 10+ interception year again, or he holds everyone to under a couple hundred yards? The Cowboys gambled with Dak Prescott before and
Zeke
ended up kind of sort of, but Dak, they could have paid Dak a year before they did and probably got a half discount on him.
Yeah,
paid him half the price. They're gambling if they don't pay Trevon Diggs this year and he goes out and balls out, they're going to be hurting.
It's going to be spicy.
Yeah. So that would be true. It would be nice for them to get a deal done with Diggs this season and do that for all of these must signs. Sign them a year ahead of where the contract expires. That'd be ideal, I'm sure. High priorities: Jordan Lewis, Jaron Curse, Terrence Steele, and Malik Hooker, or Malik Hooker, whichever one's correct.
So, and the high priority, you're completely right, because you got two safeties hitting the free market. Obviously, depending how they play or how we draft next year. We didn't draft a safety this year again, so the Cowboys are pretty set. We re-signed, obviously, Donald Wilson to a couple years, but one of these guys, they'll have to at least take another run at between Kearse and Hooker, if not both of them. Your list is pretty good in this one. I like the Trevon Diggs as a must sign. High priority, all those guys definitely should be back as Cowboys if we could retain them.
So while you have it there, AJ, Ultra Cowboys saying Bland replaces Lewis, Overshone replaces Curse, Let's Go replaces Steele, and they will draft a free safety, and then they can franchise Diggs.
But we still don't even know if Overshone or Deron Bland can play again.
Yeah.
Bland had an awesome 5 games or 6 games or whatever he did last year, but he doesn't have the resume as a Jordan Lewis. None of these guys have a resume like Jaron Curse. So, yeah, it would be ideal that both these guys, that's why you draft positions like this, so that you can get the cheaper option with these rookies that we got last year and this year. But at this moment, it's still not 100% guaranteed that those guys are going to work out.
Yeah, and I would say regardless, like at least one of those safeties you need to sign again. Probably Curse, to be honest. But if you can keep them both, they both still 2-year contracts, right? And that would run out to, I think, with Wilson's. So Donald Dubb, Curse, and Hooker just locked up for another 2 years. And then at that point, hopefully,
and Simon says Overshone will replace Kearse. So
that's the hope, of course. Yeah. Overshone will replace Curse. They're thinking he's going to play safety, eh?
Well, because he's played some safety before, but Kearse is still a lot bigger than Overshone too. In a perfect world, yeah. In a perfect world, yeah, he's gonna walk in and take over from him. That would be great for us.
If we have players that do well in season, why not? Let's just not replace them. Let's make a deal for them if they're if Kearse has a good year and Overshone has a good year, let's keep them both.
This list is no. There's no fantasy involved in this list. Okay, I'm not projecting how I think players are going to do and then making decisions. It's based off of where we sit today,
right now.
Currently. Yeah. So I wouldn't. Yeah. You can't be making those those types of decisions.
Simon says is making some bold predictions or bold decisions. Saying it's quite obvious why they brought in Agent Zero to replace Kearse.
I don't think it's that obvious.
Okay, but no, it's not. Okay, so timeout. Then when we drafted Jabril Cox 3 years ago or 2 years ago, I'm sure some guys thought the same thing. The guy can't even get on the fucking football field right now.
Yeah.
They had to draft. So they took Cox 3 years ago, and now they've drafted Damone Clark in the 5th last year, who was coming off a serious injury. And now they drafted Overshone again. If anything, I'm saying Overshone's there as depth at the linebacking position. Right. I don't think he's even going into the safety part of it. So I don't know. I obviously, if he can get any type of production, Curse has been one of the better Cowboys defensive players in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So for a guy that was drafted in the 3rd round, expecting him by next year to completely wipe out everything Curse has done and just move on from him, he would have to have a stellar fucking season to be able to do that.
Exactly. And we crack him if you got him.
Crack him if you got him, son.
We have our players that we do love, but we are Cowboys fans, so at the end of the day, if someone comes in, no matter who they are, no matter what their name is, where they came from, if they come in and dethrone a player and play better, we're going to celebrate that.
Sign me up.
Exactly. So as much as I do love Curse, I think that he is a solid, dare I say, top 12 safety in the NFL. Maybe I'm being a little too generous, but
I think that's a good.
I think it's fair.
He got snubbed, not last year because he had some injuries and stuff, but the year 2021, the guy was snubbed. He should have been in the Pro Bowl. The guy was, I would say, a top 5 safety in 2021. He was an absolute game changer, and you could see it in the defense that whole time.
Low priorities: Tony Pollard, Stephen Gilmore, and Tyler Biadasz. Now, just real quick, Pollard, of course, I would say franchise him again. You know,
How many
It's
times
hard
can
to
you? How many times can you franchise?
I think 2 or 3 times in a row, but this cost goes up and up and
Yeah.
up. So
It gets to the point that
Second-
it doesn't make sense
the
to do it more than
Yeah.
the second one is you're paying more, but it's worth it still if you need that Band-Aid.
Depends on and with Tony Pollard, depends what happens with our our running back room this year.
This year and next year.
And then next
I
year.
mean, you could always draft someone. It's
Well,
not
exactly.
ideal.
How is TP20 going to play this year, and how
Yeah.
are our other running backs going to play this year? If Malik
hey
Davis
guys, what are you talking about? Deuce Vaughn is going to be the starter for the Cowboys next year. Like they drafted him to take over for Tony Pollard.
They waited till the 6th round.
Simus says only and actually Simus doesn't say, it should be Simus yells. Only twice you can franchise.
Only twice.
Yeah, but it
okay.
gets expensive. You don't want to franchise tag your running back a second time because you're going to be paying. You're better off to get him to a multi-year deal because at least that way you can kind of space out how you get hit by it.
Right,
Yeah.
but in the position the Cowboys are at, they need to they're not going to find that person in free agency, so they'll have to do it in draft. Chances are probably not going to happen. So you're kind of stuck to if Pollard has another good year, you're not going to sign you. They're not going to sign him again. They're not going to.
There's the
do
rumor mill,
exact
dude.
Same
Yep.
thing they just did with Zeke. Like that would.
That's
be
what the
insane.
rumor. That's
Okay.
the rumor mill right now, AJ. That they're gonna get a deal done with TP20.
So you're thinking TP could be on a high priority list potentially for the Cowboys.
I don't know if they'll go full Forrest Gump and sign him to like, I don't know,
3 years,
a $90 million deal like they did with Zeke. But yeah, maybe a 3-year deal, and he does make bank where he is in still the range of $10 million a season. Maybe they do something like that. I think you're right. It's probably really hinging on his performance this year. But there is rumors that they're trying to get the Tony Pollard deal done.
Look, if TP20 has a great season, we don't get to decide how much we sign him for. And so it just, if he walks, right? There's no one in the backfield.
Yeah, our replacements right now for him leaving next year, I would have felt more comfortable if they would have got, say, a Charbonnet or even a Tajay Spears or even Eric Gray. Like there were some guys that if they would have drafted
And
that were
kept,
bigger, and kept that were bell cow type players, at least size wise, I would be more confident with being like, yeah, we're probably not going to re-sign TP20. But right now, what the fuck do you do if you don't re-sign him?
I kind of regret the Biades being down here on low priority, but I'm just a big fan of him, so I think it was fair. But center's a good center, and he's a really good center. He's not a great center. He's a really good center, and he's performs greatly with that offensive line. You know, if he's going to play fair, throw him another 2 or 3 year contract.
Yeah.
And because you got to find a good center to draft like John Michael Schmidt.
Mm-hmm. John Michael J. Hammerschmidt.
I wouldn't mind the center signing. Again, he's been good enough, and he's been he's been healthy. He hasn't missed games. He's been consistent. If you can get him for a cheap deal, centers don't break the bank usually.
Yeah.
So and they haven't really been trying to find his replacement, so I could see them bringing him back too.
Yeah. 2020, moving on to 2025, the big must sign, of course, is our boy here, CD Lamb.
88.
Yeah.
He's not going nowhere.
He's not
CD
gonna go
Lamb,
anywhere.
the CD Lamb ain't going nowhere. And so they do have that 5th-year option with CD Lamb,
Okay.
which will be that year, pretty much how you have 2025. So him and Diggs were taken in the same draft, but because CD Lamb was the first round, he was eligible for a 5th round or a 5th-year option.
Okay, so
And
so
they'll
it's not,
exercise it.
right. It's not active yet, but that's why it's showing up as he being.
But you're saying that, I mean, if they
Unrestricted.
sign him before that, taking that option, then they don't pay. They won't have to pay him as much.
It'll be an extended. They'll extend his contract, right?
Yeah.
They'll
Ooh,
rework something.
Ultra's saying CD's new contract will get done in training camp.
That would be sweet. Again, it's kind of how AJ said. Any of these must-sign guys, the
Get
sooner
'em.
you get them done, especially with CD Lamb. What if he goes out there now with a couple other of these guys and he has an insane year?
Oh yeah.
What if he ends up having like, and this is a lot of hope here, right? This is a lot of homerism. But what if he goes out there and has 15 touchdowns and like 1,500 yards or like
Yeah.
1,600 yards. Well, think how much he just cost you now instead of signing him right now.
Yeah, and look at him just laying out there, catching that bag of money.
Yeah, exactly. Specifically, if it's a guy that you've drafted that you believe is your number one, and you don't have any reason to cut him or to trade him. Like sign him, put him in there, get the deal done early.
He's so young too. Still, this is what his fourth.
Going into his fourth,
Going into his
fourth, I think he's like 23, 24 years old, right? Or something like that. Like,
yeah, Schoonmaker's like 2 years older than him already.
Yeah, like the knowledge he's had, and
Schoonmaker can't even make the under 25 list.
CeeDee Lamb is probably just now getting into like his body being at its maximum ability to its maximum capacity. Like, just I think it's around 25, is it maybe? And probably if you're an athletic freak, you accelerate at that. But that's when your body's like completely fully developed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might be missing that.
Well,
by a couple years.
Regardless, 25 to 30, he's going to be in his prime years of athleticism. So you make a 5-year deal with him, give him money. You're going to save a couple million. The difference is it's not even about. It's not, and this is possibly why the Cowboys would do it. It's not necessarily about the money to them. It's when they fuck around with the salary cap. So by letting it go on too long, you're just hurting the salary cap. So Jerry Jones probably doesn't care if he pays him an extra $5 million or $25 million as long as he believes in him. But they're failing to realize that it's going to affect the salary cap. Like there's no need to extend it past what it needs to be. Like,
well, let's just say this. When they drafted CeeDee Lamb in 2020 at 17 or whatever we drafted him at, when we didn't necessarily need a wide receiver, your best case scenario is you're going to be paying this guy for a second contract. And now he's performed well enough to give him a second contract. So this is the best case scenario for the Cowboys. Yeah, you're going to have to pay him, but you gave him 88. You couldn't have hoped for more. Like, this is exactly what you wanted. You wanted him to ball out. Now he's 100% going to be a Cowboy for a long time, and he's going to make a fuck ton of money.
How do you love seeing the photo of like CD, Pearson, Brian, and Irvin together?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that every 88, because obviously when Dez got it, it was a big deal, and you're like, oh, is he going to be good? And he was. Dez was amazing, and then CD gets it, and you're like, fuck, I really, really hope he lives up to it. And he still has a lot of way to go to live up to it, but he's definitely on track.
That's the best thing about it. You know that we have not seen the best of CeeDee Lamb yet. So it's exciting that he's not maxed out. He's not tapped out as a receiver. You know their potential is there. Get that older wide receiver vet in there to groom him up a little bit.
You got Cooks. Having Cooks on the other side is going to pay massive dividends for CeeDee Lamb's production.
Just a quick clarification, Ultra Cowboy. Schoonmaker is going to be a stud.
We all believe it.
Him not making the top 25 list has nothing about his player ability. It's more about his age, because he's a fucking
he's aged out.
Man. He's already aged out. He's 25 already.
High priority is Leighton Vander Esch and Brian Anger. And I think LVE still youthful at this point. Getting him for another 2-3 more years if he's playing like he did last year.
Yeah.
And Brian Anger, solid boot. I mean, there's no signs of him slowing down. And with the amount of times that special teams are touch the football, when you find a guy like Brian Anger, you got to make sure you retain him if you can.
Isn't there a new rule? Isn't there the new rule that might be coming in about the fair catch rule, where you automatically get it at the 25-yard line or something like that? There was some. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I saw.
I thought that was initiated.
If you kick on kickoff, it's already on the 25. If it's a touchback or you fair catch it, you're on the 25.
Okay.
Maybe that's punting. Maybe they're thinking about moving. I hope
that's
not.
what I'm talking about, punter. That's why. So Brian Anger on this list.
Oh yeah, okay. I hope not. Pinning someone inside the 20. Pinning someone inside the 20 is such a skill, and that's why he ends up being a high priority, because that extra 5 yards, if you can consistently get them on the 20, I don't know.
Okay, so
I would hate that.
The current rule change proposal involves placing the ball on the 25-yard line on punt touchbacks. like the current kickoff rule, hoping this would
I hate
incentivize
that.
teams to go for on fourth
Well,
down
that's
more
on a
often.
touchback though, Anth. Not like pinning someone.
No, sorry, but if you try to pin them, you're getting now these kickers are
Oh,
getting
sure.
these punters are getting penalized because
yeah.
you're instead of trying to pin them on the one, you're gonna be like, okay, I just want to get it to maybe the 15,
Well, that's what they
right?
want.
Instead of I hate that. So
Yeah,
the NFL wants teams to possibly go for it on fourth.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, right now to make that decision on fourth down, if you're gonna punt or go for it, it has to do with net yards, right? So if you punt it and you get it into the end zone and it goes to the 20, and instead of say your net yards is only 20 yards, they're going to go for it on fourth down instead of even risking the punt. So the more you push that touchback back,
Mm-hmm.
the more chances they're going to be like, okay, well, we'd only net 15 yards if we punted here and we fuck up. I don't know. I don't like
McCarthy's
the rule. Obviously,
not doing that math on the sideline. Okay.
But it kind
I didn't even know that, Ad. I didn't even know that was up for rule
Yeah.
proposition.
Yeah, I forget who I think it had to have been Pat McAfee complaining
Can
about it.
they,
And I saw a headline for it because he was a punter. That's
He
probably
He probably
the only-
hates it.
Yeah.
He probably hates it.
Can they still make rule changes right now before the season, or does it have to be done?
That
for
article
next
that I
year?
just saw was March 28th. So I think the proposal was in for this that would be effective for the 2023 season.
Okay.
Well, they have the owners meeting, so any rules and stuff, I think it gets decided at that point, and I think that's already happened. So it possibly be for next season.
Right.
But then again, I didn't even know this rule existed, so I might just be talking out my asshole.
We
do that a lot.
when we don't know when we don't know something, we talk about it long enough to try to have chat correct us, and no one's corrected us yet. So you might be right.
So I threw
Low priority. Okay.
Yeah, I threw a lot
Lots.
of names. I threw a lot of names on low priority because I couldn't make up my mind, and any one of these guys could become an actual low priority, whereas some of these guys are definitely not going to be on it by the end of the season.
Right now, for me, the only guy that I don't agree with, I would say Osa. Osa, to me, the way he's played his first few seasons, how just basing off of his production and how it's vaulting up, like his first year,
Should be
he
a
was pretty
higher
good.
priority.
I think
Well-
I think he's going to be, and that's just basing off his 2 seasons that he's had. The way that he plays and the way he's going to be matched up with Mozzie Smith, I think he could end up being a guy we really want to keep around.
That's true. I had Osa, Cox, and Israel as potential high priorities. Israel's in a stacked kind of position on the Cowboys, which is nice. Hey, thinking about
It's nice.
cornerback, like it feels like we got some serious depth. And I think he's a guy who, with the little time he had on the field, and at least impressed us in house here. So
Yep.
the potential's there. And Cox, it's more of wishful thinking. Like, let's hope
He's probably going to get cut before that, to be honest.
Okay.
Shabby Cox.
The only other one here too would be Cooper Rush. If the Cowboys don't go out and draft anyone, then you bring back Cooper Rush.
Hey, you guys see that? I know I put it in the group chat, but I got to bring it up. Ben DiNucci signed with the Broncos.
I know.
I feel a little bit slighted by that. A little, like, kind of slighted by it.
Yeah, I'm turned off by him now.
Is he going to make a company that has Denver hats now upside down?
Probably
Just Denver?
Son of a bitch.
Gets
He
paid-
should.
I hope.
Gets paid in Dallas for his Dallas upside down hats.
Okay, and then here's kind of, I mean, without question, feed the Lion a big bag of
Re-sign
money.
Micah now.
2026.
So 2026. Yeah,
2026
2026 free agents.
I know. I'm just saying, resign Micah now. I mean, obviously, it's not
Again,
great.
though, you're right.
Not great for those players. I mean, but at the same time, the player has to want to accept that. Like, Micah wouldn't accept that because he knows he's going to have better seasons. He's going to gamble on himself. So it doesn't make sense for him to sign it net because he'll get paid more. Crack him if you got him, baby.
Correct with you, bud. It all kind of depends on what the contract would be. But for Parsons, it's too early.
Yeah.
But next year, start looking at it.
Who's the highest paid defensive player of all time?
Right now, it's got to be Aaron Donald. It's definitely Aaron. It's got to be Aaron Donald.
While AJ's checking that out, and Ultra Cowboy
Possibly
says, how are you going to pay?
TJ Watt or Nick Bosa.
How are you going to pay everybody when you will give an average QB franchise money and Micah is going to get QB type money? Hard reality will set in when they pay Dak. I don't think they'll repay Dak.
Ooh.
They're gonna extend Dak. They're gonna end up extending Dak, and it's actually the thing with extensions and quarterbacks and these big contracts. They honestly probably should have extended Dak this year. It would have freed up more money this year. They're probably just waiting on it when they do have to pay all these guys. And all they do is they front load it and then they flip money. And it's just, you're always chasing almost this imaginary money that you're hoping you never have to pay.
Yeah, and players,
right? Yeah, you're gonna eat dead money eventually, but they just keep kicking it down.
Yeah, you allot X amount of your budget to be dead cap so you can do this, and the players win because at the end of the day, the teams win because they get to kick. They eventually end up with a surplus of like how much they promised and how much they actually give out. But the players win in that they get more money up front in bonuses.
Yeah.
When they
guaranteed,
do that.
buddy.
Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. If they get cut, then they don't get that big $50 million a year or whatever, right? They get like 15 million of it or whatever. But but Aaron Donald, by the way, is the highest, and it's $32 million a season. Oof.
Mike is going to be the highest paid defensive player in the NFL.
Smells like men.
Smells like sweaty men in here.
Hey.
Nice. Real, yeah, that's right. Real men. UK Steve's in the house.
UK Steve's in the hizzy.
Wearing an equally respectable jersey. Wearing his Man City.
Man City.
Man
you.
Oh
Man,
wow,
you.
you're about to get punched out. Yeah, I was gonna say you're about to get punched out for that.
I was gonna make a Man. I had a Man City joke locked in my brain, and I said it before the Man U.
You should have said he was wearing a West Ham jersey.
Oh no, I should have said you were wearing a West Ham jersey. Fuck you, Anthony says. Oh, sweet. Yeah, you can keep the door open though. It's pretty warm in here. Simon says, I don't get what this is. He says, so bypass the 5th-year option for Micah. ... Gotcha. And then he goes, so much hate.
Shake my head.
So much hate.
Maybe
Shake
it's
my
both. Look,
No, it'd shake my head.
I say so much hate all the time.
you probably at this point that's when his contract runs out. So you could take.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, AJ. I cut you off there.
I was just saying, like, you could do that, but I doubt that the Cowboys are more than likely going to re-sign him before they extend the 5th year. I would think.
Exactly. What happens if after season 4 of Micah absolutely dominating, he's like, I'm not coming to training camp until you extend me.
Yeah.
Well, now this fifth year option goes out is moot.
Yeah.
You're telling me if Micah Parsons goes out there again in year 3 and 4 and has 15 plus sacks, you think he's just going to play on a 5th year option?
Yeah.
Not a fucking chance. We're actually lucky that Trevon Diggs isn't holding out in training camp this year. He's going to play on his 4th year deal. And yeah, I'm on the page that you signed a contract, you should play the contract out, but that's not how it works. These guys all want security, right? And I'm telling you right now, if Micah balls out in year 3 and 4, he is not playing that 5th year option. Not a chance.
Yeah, it's not how it works, but it's
Correct me if you got him.
It's not part of the contract, but that's just how it works in the NFL. Teams do it to the players in different ways.
Ultra saying you can't hold out anymore. The CBA was changed for that.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. What do you mean you can't hold out? All he has to say is I'm not coming.
Yeah.
What do you mean you can't hold out?
Find me.
Here's some.
But they're going to put a gun to his head and tell him that he has to come to play?
At the end of the day, Micah Parsons is going to get a lot of money regardless.
Well, I'm going to ask you guys this right now.
Cowboys will pay him a lot of money.
What are the Cowboys going to do if Micah Parsons says after year 4, I'm not playing for you until you pay me? I don't care what the CBA. The CBA actually is probably it plays better into the collective bargaining agreement for players to be able to do that. A 5th year option player.
See what the fine is. Ultra Cowboy saying go look up Roquan Smith. You can't hold out. And then Simon says you can hold out. The fine is heavy. So yeah,
the fine's heavy. But if you know you're about to make $30 to $40 million a year instead of getting hurt and then completely jeopardizing yourself, you 100% can hold out. You just get fined.
Okay, but here's the thing about these fines. Are these fines from the team, and that when they make a deal, they'll just rinse that?
Probably.
Yeah, because if that's the case, it's like, yeah, I'll fucking hold out, and when we make a contract, you're gonna erase all those fines, or you're gonna pay for all my fines.
$50,000 per day.
It's $50,000.
That's nothing.
It's really peanuts in the scheme of things. And like I said, you could probably 50 for veterans. Teams may reduce or forgive fines for all players.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Micah Parsons is not going to play on his 5th-year option.
This is the best example, and this is from Julian.
Oh,
He
wait,
says,
sorry. It's mandatory for players on veterans, I guess. That was the update. But anyways, like I said, that you would work. I can just imagine a player just working that into the deal, saying, well, I'm getting $250,000 fine, so you write that into the contract too.
Again,
I just
if
don't-
Micah ends up... Sorry, Ad.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think Micah's there. I think it's going to be amicable. I think they're going to pay him. They want to pay him. They want to keep him on the team. If I think he's going to get the money that he's going to get deserved. I think he will be the highest defensive player.
Well, what's the history of the
when they
Cowboys?
resign it. When they resign it.
What's the history of the Cowboys? Do they treat their stars right and sign them, or do they let them? Do they let the contracts go to dispute always?
Hank Lawrence went to dispute. Ezekiel Elliott held out, and they ended up paying both of them.
Yeah. So 2026 high priorities: Deron Bland, Damone Clark, and Sam Williams. A little bit of a question mark on these guys, but I think from what we've seen, and well, except for Damone Clark, so I am a little biased with him, but by this point, we'll probably want to be bringing these guys back.
It's tricky to say. I mean, obviously, yeah, off of what they've done.
Yeah.
But as you get further in free agency per year, it gets a little bit trickier
That
to
is
say.
true.
But those guys based off of last year, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're just making some guesses. Low priority, Jake Fergie. I just think Schoonmaker's going to come in here and revolutionize the tight end position in Dallas. Or, sorry, roll it back.
Old man Schoon.
No, roll it back to the Witten days. A little bit of a touch of Witten, I think. So,
Do you need a top up?
yeah, sure. I think Jake Ferguson, unfortunately, might be cut at that point, or he's just
wow.
or he's just gonna be who he is.
AJ's got a vendetta on these tight ends.
And just speaking how I feel, cut was maybe a strong word, but I feel like if he wants to play the top position, he'll have to go to another team, and if he doesn't mind, then he can just hang out in Dallas.
Hey, if either one of those guys is fighting, if Jake Ferguson's fighting for his position life because Schoonmaker came in and balled out, it's the best thing for the Cowboys.
Absolutely. And our last season here, 2027, must signs. Now, some of these guys might be hanging up the cleats, a.k.a. Zach Martin, but we got Tyler Smith and Dak Prescott. Prescott, though, big asterisks. The questions I just ask is, do you think the Cowboys are going to draft a replaceable QB unquestionably that would allow them to let the contract run out? Probably not, right? If they draft a QB, he's going to be a later round QB and then show up and surprise everyone. Like, they're not going to go first or second round on a QB, right? I don't think. Not while Dak's in town.
No, you're right.
And then in free agency, they're really not going to make any strong moves for anyone who could replace him while he's on the team either. So, in my opinion, I think right now the Cowboys are going to ride out Dak for eternity.
Yeah.
They're gonna use people that don't like Dak Prescott are gonna be very upset because he's the Cowboys quarterback
For 10
until
years.
the wheels fall off.
Yeah,
Quarterbacks play till they're easily 35 now. Dak's adjusted his game that he's not the guy that's running all the time. He can sit back and throw the ball. He's going to be a Cowboy, and he's going to be the Cowboys starting quarterback for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah, and unless he Mr. Glasses in and gets another injury.
But Zach Martin, though, that's the big question mark. And I think Tyler Smith, no-brainer, right?
Yep.
And then
Definitely.
high priority would be Dono Dub. We'll see. I mean, by this point, he might have ran his course athletically. And maybe we have a replacement drafted, which would be nice. I do want to see a safety drafted sometime soon.
Yeah.
And then low priority, again, it's Michael Gallup, DeMarcus Lawrence. I think D-Law is going to retire and become a coach for the Cowboys.
Coach Tank.
Print that. And then Gallup at this point, again, hoping that we have found another young stud to kind of fill that role, and we can let Gallup loose. We can let
He's
him
more than
gallop.
likely not. He's more than likely not getting that third contract.
No. And then, of course, at this point, all of our draft picks that we drafted this year by 2027, they're all going to be up for renewal. So there's so much unknown by 2027. They will need to have all of those must picks and Dak Prescott signed to new contracts so they can actually gauge how much can be distributed for these new picks that are all going to be coming up. Some of them might be better than who we have on the field, which would be great. And some might just be low priorities.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I mean, it's too, like you said, it's too early. Gallup could ball out this year and have a good 2020. I mean, this is 2027. So
2027.
I know.
That's 4 seasons. It's tough.
But you know
I like
what?
that AJ dove. I like that you dove into it, but that's tough.
Here's why, because it gives you perspective on what the hell is happening. Why the office might be doing certain things. When you look at like, those are all, every single year till 2027, there is a big money contract for the Cowboys. Which maybe that's normal. And to be quite honest, that might be a great pacing for your signing your big contracts, right? Because you get to like deal with one a year. So fun stuff. And are you sticking around or do you got to go?
No, I'm probably gonna hop out of here, guys. You guys are gonna be going. Hey, and I better not go back on the YouTube later tonight to watch, and it's just you two kissing for the next 30 minutes.
Hey, we're doing well.
There's nothing wrong if we kiss.
The only other thing I have, and we can go over with you as well on Wednesday, Anth, is just the matchups and players to watch. But I think me and Adam have one more cup here to finish, so we might as well go through.
All right, guys. I'll see you guys Wednesday night.
All right.
Peace.
All right, but we're sticking around Cowboys Nation or Canfanamaniacs, and whoa,
just 2 bandwagon boys. Welcome to the bandwagon extravaganza.
Hey, they finally let us.
They finally
run the bus. They're letting us drive the bus.
Here's the thing: we have always been driving the bus, but can we drive and talk at the same time?
Can we drive and steer?
Can we drive and steer?
Can we drive and steer? It's the same thing.
Can we drive and steer? Can we drive and talk at the same time?
Okay, so this is not a very pretty list.
Okay, let me see if I can. I just gotta
actually hang on one sec. Take it off.
It is off. It is off. I'm trying to do right now is I had it set for a guest on the screen.
Oh, we got a guest?
Well, Anth.
Oh. That's our host. Sorry, guys. Just while we are setting this up, what are your thoughts about the matchups that you want to see? And I'm talking about either player versus player or position versus position throughout the season. It can go game by game or just specifically by matchups. You can throw that out in the chat there. But if that was confusing.
Well, it was confusing to me, but I'll ask you. I mean, you're doing some stuff right now and there anyways, but Ultra Cowboy brings up a good point. Eagles paid Hurts and still drafted Tanner McKee. Say what you want, but they draft QBs to give them flexibility. So it is disappointing that we didn't necessarily draft a QB this year. However, they took Cooper Rush, and possibly they weren't thinking about it until next year. I do think the Cowboys will draft a QB next year in order to shore themselves up in case something happens to Dak.
Potentially, I'm just saying, like,
because Cooper Rush is not going to be our number one. He's just a backup. He did a good job as a backup, but he's just a backup.
But that's all you need. Like, what you don't want on your team is 2 for sure starting quarterbacks.
Right.
I know that sounds like a great thing, but you're wasting the value on your team if you have that. Now, of course, it does happen in rare cases where you draft a surprise quarterback who turns out to be a number 1, and now you do have 2 number 1s and you ride that out for sure. But at the end of the day, you can't play them both, and they're too valuable to sit. Other teams want them, and you can get a lot of value back in return. So if Dak's going to be sticking around, investing a high priority pick in one of those guys just doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think it makes sense to the Cowboys. They had a chance to pull the trigger on a couple guys in the 6th round, and they didn't.
Yep.
And so what more, like, that's about as far back as you can really go.
That's what I'm saying. Not this year, but I bet you next draft we will see a QB get drafted.
No, we'll see. I don't even know what. I mean, we'll have to wait till next year to put in the effort to looking to see what the actual
find a new
draft picks look
find
like.
a new college quarterback that I want to love.
I know. Well, where did he end up again?
Charbonnet.
No, not Charbonnet.
Not Charbonnet. DTR.
DTR.
I don't. Not the Lions. He landed in. Where did he land? After he didn't get drafted to us, he was dead to me.
Yeah, I know. The Browns.
Right. Which again, I'll watch some of those in.
Oh, what happened there?
No, it's
Okay.
the Zoom thing. Don't worry.
All right, well, let's bring up these matchups here.
Okay, let's see what we got
Okay,
here.
so these are matchups and players to watch. And what I mean by that is not the team matchup that I want to watch, not the Cowboys versus the Eagles.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm talking about the actual in-game. What am I looking at in each of these games?
Okay.
So I've gone through and I've
Analyzed.
Analyzed. I did everyone except for I think the Cardinals, and the reason is there's nothing I want to watch specifically in the Cardinals game except for just the Cowboys beat them. Like,
Oh, so you went week to week.
I went not week to week.
Okay.
I just went all of the opponents. So some teams we play them twice. I just combined them together.
Okay.
It'll make sense when we get through the first one, I think.
All right,
but,
let's do
but
it.
what we're looking at is the in-game matchups that we want to watch, and then also players who us as Canfanamaniacs will be interested in.
Yeah, and Julian 424 brought up a matchup that I wasn't even thinking about.
Oh, it's on there. Yeah, we'll get to it. We're gonna get to it, Julian. Starting here with the New York Giants. And I might get some of these matchups wrong, so that's why I want to kind of anth here for this. And sorry, like this is like
Zoom it in.
oh, it's a junkiest document, so just
It's a nice little Word doc that you got. There
Yes,
we go,
it's
baby.
Word doc. Because I was gonna make something nice, but I just waited last minute. So anyway, New York Giants here. Matchups. We got Jalen Hyatt versus Lewis or Bland because it looks like at this point, anyways, he's gonna be like third or fourth on the depth. He might jump up though. So if it's not Lewis and Bland, then it's gonna be and I have CG. They're not CG guys. That's cornerback. For audio listeners, like, what is he talking about? Well, you got to hop over to the YouTube. Just search Cowboys CanFan on YouTube, and you will be able to live stream with us. Subscribe, notifications, all
Every
that stuff.
Sunday and Monday. Sunday service. Monday. So
Wednesday.
Sunday and Wednesday. Man, I'm jet lagged, bro.
That's Japan.
I'm jet
time.
lagged, bro. Japan's Wednesday is Canada's Monday.
Yeah. So Jalen Hyatt versus basically whatever CB he lines up against, because we were potentially talking about getting that cat.
You don't think he's gonna line up with Diggs?
I don't think he's going to be the number one.
Yeah, no.
Not
I agree.
in, I mean, I can pull up the
What week do we play the Giants again?
first
The first week?
week. Kind of goes in order here, but we play them twice, so this is in both games. Next matchup is John Michael Schmidt, that beautiful center,
John Michael Jingleheimer Schmitz.
versus Osa.
Oh, Diggy
and
Zoo.
Mazzy.
Oh, there it
we
is.
go.
We thought we'd get through one Sunday service without Alex's alarm. And guess
No.
what happened? It didn't.
John Michael Schmidt versus Osa and Mazzy on the DT there. So they're going to be facing up against him. We'll
Yep.
see how he performs. I don't know if he'll actually right now it looks like he is the starter in New York. And then there's Deontay Banks, cornerback, and I think he is starting right. So I believe that would be lining up against Lamb, but either way, it's going to be against Lamb or Gallup that he's lining up against.
Right.
And then players to watch is Eric Gray, the running back for the Giants. We had our eye on him.
Yes, we did.
But of course, he went to the.
So you think players to watch are Eric Gray over Saquon?
Yeah, well, that's an obvious one.
Yeah.
I'm talking about who I'm interested in
Right, okay.
personally. Okay. I mean, yeah, of course. These are interesting matchups and players to watch. I'm
Yep.
just throwing out some ideas for people to
think
maybe
about.
this is what you want to look at. This is what I'm going to be looking at anyway. So next on the list are the New York Jets. I only have one thing I'm going to be watching in this game. Now,
Rajas.
it will be nice. I should add, since they ranked Sauce so high.
Yeah, I was
now
going to say Sauce now needs to be on. Sauce and Lamb.
Sauce and Lamb.
Sauce and Lamb.
Or whoever he lines up against, right? Sauce versus the wide receivers of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep.
That's going to be one. And then, of course, I want to Dak versus Rodgers. This is going to be a nice match. This is kind of like, so Rodgers is on that elite NFL pedestal, and Dak is making his walk up the steps. All quarterbacks take this walk. Some fall off along the way, and very few make it to the top.
Yep.
I think this is a game, if Dak wins and wins under his due diligence and not because of an excellent defender game. Let me finish my point.
Yep. I'm letting you finish.
Thanks. That it will take him to that next level, or maybe one more step closer, at least, to being like that elite style NFL QB who's held very high for the way that he's played. Of course, you can never get there without a Super Bowl, but getting closer.
I think you need to change it to Cowboys versus Rodgers as the matchup to watch, because Aaron Rodgers is the Cowboy killer.
Ooh.
So now that he's on the Jets, we haven't seen Aaron Rodgers in any other scheme.
How about that?
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
Because to me, the matchup is Dak versus Aaron Rodgers, but you are very right. We need to get that monkey off our back, as they say.
Yeah. So that's out of the Jets. That's what I want to see. And then obviously we already talked about Saucy.
Yeah.
Saucy versus Lamb. Some Sauce Lamb action.
That would be added. Actually, let me just add it right now. So we
add it right now so that you have it.
Sauce Gardner, CB versus the wide receivers.
Yeah. Which I think he'll be matched up to CeeDee Lamb for most of the time.
I think so, yeah.
So week 5, Nate Dogg was in the chat earlier. I don't know if he's still here. And he was saying week 5, let's see. That's survey says week 5. Week 5, 49ers.
Well, there's a few matchups I want to see. Number one, it's the defense versus the offense. And I guess you could equally argue the Dallas Cowboys offense versus the 49ers defense.
So if we looked at the last game that they played against the 49ers, the defense did their job. The offense couldn't do their job. So it would be I do like the Dallas 49ers in a whole, but I think it would be Dallas offense versus 49ers defense.
Okay. The thing that I was just looking at is I want to see them just dominate.
Yeah.
Again.
Well, they kept
that's what I'm saying. You can flip it either way.
Under 20 points is still a good job, right?
Oh, it's great. It was a fantastic job.
Yeah. Now Mozzie Smith versus Christian McCaffrey would be a nice matchup.
Oh, I never considered defensive tackle to running back, so that's a fair one. Let's add it to the list.
Yeah, and then as everyone's on Overshown, yeah, there you got Overshown right there. Agent Zero.
Is it MCM?
Mozzie Smith?
No, MCM.
Oh yeah, no, CMC.
CMC. MCM is the movie company?
No, MGM's a movie company. Yeah, CMC versus Mozzie. So Mozzie's being brought in to help stop the run game.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good one, actually. CMC versus Mozzie. You know what? We're going to do Mozzie Osa, because that's kind of the tag team I've been doing. Because as much as Mozzie's exciting, because he's the rookie, it's also like Osa's going to be on the field kind of hopefully solidifying that. And then we can't forget about Hankins either, but I really think Hankins going to play that.
Yeah, exactly. But like the fact of them drafting Mozzie so high.
Oh yeah, they're going to use him. But you'll probably have 2 of them there.
Yeah.
Then we have Bosa.
Freaking
Nick Bosa versus Tyler Smith. That's just going to be a battle.
Yeah.
It's a nice test for Smith to see how he's going to hold up. That right there is as good as you can get in terms of competition on defensive end. And so if Smith performs well, I think we can be pretty happy.
Ants in the chat saying MCM is going to kill it. I mean, so you want Christian McCaffrey to
MCM?
Yeah, you want you want.
I think I'm dyslexic. So next up is Micah Parsons, who I am just putting LBDE. We don't know, right? But versus whichever quarterback there is. I'm calling a multi-sack game in this one.
Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Is it going to be Trevor Lawrence? Not Trevor Lawrence. Trey Lance.
Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence,
or some other guy, some other jag, some other guy.
Yeah, and then and then there's Overshawn. Now I am taking the guess that Overshawn is going what?
Well, where's the A in his name?
It's Overshown.
Yeah.
Okay. Am I saying Overshown? Okay, Overshown.
Yeah, versus
Kittle.
Yeah.
But I'm taking the perspective that Overshown's going to be playing a coverage linebacker position, not a safety.
Yeah.
And even if he is playing a little bit of safety, he could still be on him. But that's the
I like that. I like that matchup.
yeah.
You're bringing him in for a reason. I mean, we've seen LVE play against Kittle before, but are they bringing someone like Overshown who has the free safety tendencies to come in there and be a coverage linebacker? I think it's a good matchup.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at with 49ers. Next up on this list, I skip Cardinals guys because there's nothing fucking there to really care about in my opinion. Okay, LA Chargers. We got Quentin Johnson, and he's probably going to be lining up against Lewis or Bland. And he maybe at this point in the season is moved up to be playing against Diggs and or Gallimore. So again, this could be more of a Quentin Johnson versus the cornerbacks in Dallas instead.
Yep.
But at this point, I believe he's like third on the list there.
Well, who
or
else?
Third on the depth chart.
Who's the other receivers for the Chargers? Allen?
Let me look really quick.
I think it's Allen's the only other. Yeah, so I guess by that time it's who. If Quentin Johnson
he could have moved.
Yeah,
up.
if Quentin Johnson is your arguably the wide receiver one, then you're going to move him. Austin Eckler? No, it's Allen,
Keenan Allen, and Mike Williams, and they're both like quality receivers. But yeah, either one of those guys.
But by that time, I think this is like a week 3 or 4. Or is it later in the season?
No, this is after 49ers.
Yeah, so if it's later, so if it's after the 49ers, then we'll have enough time to see what Quentin Johnson can do, and possibly Diggsy's is going to be on him. Who knows?
Week 6, actually.
Week 6.
Then there's Schoonmaker.
Your boy,
And
old man Scooney.
This is he's going to be going up against either Mack or Bosa at the linebacker position. Now, I might not have that matchup right because I don't follow the Chargers enough to know if Mack or Bosa are just strict rushing linebackers. But from what I read up a little bit on them quickly, they do some coverage. So anyways, the point being, this is a good test for Schoonmaker. He's playing a real quality linebacker squad here against the 49ers and the Chargers.
Yep.
So these two games are going to be some real ability testers for Schooney.
Anth wants you to add Herbert versus the Cowboys cornerbacks.
Ooh, okay, Daddy.
See, this is why AJ loves having you still creeping in the chat, because then you can add to this.
So, Anth, I'm assuming what you're saying is
Justin Herbert's a deadly person to watch for. Like on the Chargers?
Oh yeah, he's a great quarterback. And you know what? The Chargers offense is pretty freaking formidable. So watching the CBs and how they can perform against Herbert and
Justin Herbert.
And that wide receiver core, including wherever the hell Quentin Johnston is at that point in time in the season. I mean, he might have risen up to number 1.
Right.
And that would be scary.
Yep.
And then finally, players to watch. We just had them kind of on our draft board here and there. Tuli Tuipulotu, linebacker.
AJ wanted to add that on there just so he could say his name on this cast.
Okay, next up, we got the LA Rams. Here's our boy Steve Avila playing left guard, I guess, but who knows? He could be left or right, but so we'll just say guard. And then he's going to be up against Osa and Mazi, more than likely on that DT position, ramming head to head.
Get him.
And then Aaron Donald, of course, versus Tyler Smith. That's going to be another test for Tyler Smith. He's got a couple of hard competitors that he's going to be playing against this year, but that's good.
But not and you don't think like Cooper Kupp versus Diggs?
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like that. Cooper Kupp versus our boy.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Cups versus Diggs, that's good. That's good. Actually, that's really good.
Hey, Anth, settle down, okay? You're too late in the comment. Anth goes Diggs versus Kupp. Get the fuck out of here. Hey, guess what? I can't tell you to get out of here because you're already gone.
Yo, you're already gone.
You're already gone, son.
No, that's actually a really good one. And is that the second kind of big test for Diggs this season? I think. Well, Quentin Johnston could be a big test for Diggs, but I think that's the only.
Well, Deebo Samuels for the 49ers will be a matchup for him.
True, but he kind of plays.
But I mean,
Anyway, yeah.
Deebo Samuels is going to be Deebo versus the Cowboys defense. It would be another one to watch out for.
True.
For the 49ers.
The Rams also drafted Kobe Turner, defensive end, that guy who
Obi Trice. No, that's not him.
No, this is.
I keep getting Corey Trice and Kobe Turner mixed up there.
Kobe Turner was the guy who we looked at, and we couldn't find his birth date anywhere.
Right,
and he could have been 21 years old or 35.
Yeah.
And then
He was an old man.
Trevius Hodges Tomlinson. By this point in the season, I think this is like week 7. It's going to be interesting to see how this young kid is.
Yep.
I never thought he was going to do good. I hope I'm wrong. I always hope I'm wrong.
AJ didn't outrightly talk down to him during our draft extravaganza or our draft, the 10 weeks of draft prep that we did.
Because he was never seriously considered.
Yeah, exactly. So every time we'd bring him up, it was like AJ would go science. AJ would go silent. Sorry.
And I went science on your.
And then he would go science on us. Here's why, Travarius.
I'm pointing like, what happened to our screen? Because I have a big white mask. Okay, here we go. And we need your input here. For the Eagles, I'm just going to roll through. And then...
okay, so so you can roll through, but...
No. Go ahead. Let's do it.
Dak versus Hurts. I think that, if we wanted to just look at stats at the end of the game, quarterback to quarterback, it makes sense. But I feel
that's
like
the war this is what you're coming to see.
I know.
This is what we've been waiting for.
Hurts versus Mozzie Smith and Osa.
Hurts. But the Hurts is
Hurts versus the Cowboys
he's not
defense.
battling those guys.
Well, he's battling the Cowboys defense.
I know, but that's like way too obvious.
Okay. I think that they bring someone like Mozzie Smith in to help the run game, so that they're going to put him and Micah adjusting to, Micah was talking about he's going to be full-time edge, adjusting the Cowboys run stop defense versus Hurts is what I think is what we're going to see here.
Look what
Oh yeah.
look what Tony B said.
Yeah, guess what? Whatever, 2v1, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, Tony B agrees. Dak versus Hurts, number 1. Number 2, Eagles wide receivers versus the Cowboys cornerbacks and secondaries.
Sure.
Okay. Now I know that just went against what I said, but I'm just saying. I don't disagree.
I agree to disagree.
You want to put Hurts versus? I'm not against it. I don't think it's bad, but I think that if you're tiering these matchups, it's Hurts. It's Dak versus Hurts, and I know that's like they're not actually directly competing.
Sure. Yeah. No,
right?
I know what you mean.
But Hurts versus who was it? Mozzie Smith, Osa
and Mozzie.
And Mozzie. That's an interesting matchup, which we haven't done yet.
That's the only reason. That's because Mozzie is there to help our run stoppage. Like, I want to see if it's going to make a difference against someone like Jalen Hurts.
Oh.
So we're talking about matchups we want to see. Yeah. Obviously, Dak versus the Eagles is what I would say. Because Dak does a very good job against the Eagles. And says Georgia Bulldogs versus Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, let's do that.
I mean, the Eagles versus the Cowboys. You could list a ton of stuff.
Here's what I was missing when you were talking about Hurts. You're talking about him running.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I was like not cluing into that. So now it makes sense what you're saying. Absolutely. That's it. Now we've got the double.
Guess who made his point correct and won him over?
Over Sean. Overshown.
Yeah, just take the O out of there and put an A.
Is it overshown?
No, it's overshown.
It's overshown. Okay. Overshown again, I'm thinking he's playing that coverage linebacker position.
Yep.
Versus Dallas Goedert, tight end.
Yep.
Now, I guess it could be. It could also be safeties. Any one of the safeties, but I'm thinking this is what Overshown's coming in to do. Jalen Carter, DT versus the Cowboys O-line. I don't know where they're going to place that guy.
Who he's going to be matching up against?
Well, he will be matching up against most likely and as we learned, I don't know.
First tech, 3 tech?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it yet.
Okay. Well, he's probably going to be lining up as for 1 tech?
1 tech?
Yeah,
Oh.
I think so. Maybe 3 tech?
Maybe 3 tech? Jalen Carter, though, I mean, he's being brought in. Georgia Bulldogs versus Dallas Cowboys, Jalen Carter.
And then players to watch here is Keely Ringo. Just because we had him on our radar.
Ant says Carter versus Zach Martin.
Okay.
Let's
Make it more specific. What we're looking to do is do more specific
Yep.
than general.
Ultra,
Sometimes you got to be general.
I like hearing this. Ultra says Ringo will get cooked in the NFL. He has tight hips.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Ultra. No, you got some inside info on those tight hips for Keely Ringo. We'll take it.
And now this is going to be a game that we are at.
Yeah, so we will be at the Panthers game, kicking off our Thanksgiving road trip week extravaganza.
Oh, wait, what's Ant say here? What about Nolan Smith? Whose team is he on?
He's on. What about Nolan Smith?
Is he on Eagles?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
I feel so stupid right now. Here it is. While I check this out,
We whispered.
Panthers.
We whispered to each other. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, the Eagles drafted Nolan Smith. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Well, you can check it. Check it. In fact, I'm just saying yes because I want it to sound like we know what we're talking about. Yeah, Ant said Eagles.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a Bulldog.
Oh, well.
Yeah. There we go. Players to watch, Nolan Smith. And primarily, Nolan Smith was a player that AJ was pushing for in one of our early draft episodes. We have the receipts for that.
I know. I panicked. Okay.
Oh, so glasses, yeah. So Ultra Cowboy says Carter only averaged 3 sacks a year in college. Zach will own Carter.
I like it.
And then Ultra also says Nolan is another player that averaged 2.5 sacks a year. Stop falling in love with the combine.
You know what? I think Ultra Cowboys turned another leaf. He's being more positive than we are.
Ultra positive Cowboy, yeah.
Whoa.
Totally. Well, Ultra Cowboy is positive on like other teams to watch out for, but if we talk about specifics for the Cowboys, he'll get very pessimistic about it.
Yeah, no. Nolan Smith, I have high hopes for, and you know what? He has to be on our list because we're going to be watching for him.
We know who Nolan Smith is. We just didn't
know if he was on the.
We didn't clue in that the Eagles drafted him again.
I thought it was the anyways. Back to the Panthers. The game that we will be at. Dak Prescott versus Bryce Young, and it's just going to be interesting. It might not be as exciting by the time we get there, or it might be even more exciting by the time we get to this game, because it all really kind of depends on, truthfully, how both quarterbacks perform, but definitely how Bryce Young plays in the NFL. I saw a couple photos of him on the field. Looks a little scary, but you know.
I think, in terms of players the thing for the Panthers, Bryce Young is the only thing that would stand out for me in that game. Players to watch, Jonathan Mingo. I agree. Mingo would actually be an interesting player to watch out. Specifically,
he was somewhat on our radar.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously, and I was never a fan of Chandler Zavala, so I'm not. I'm not gonna. I don't.
But don't you want to watch then to see how he turns out anyway? He's on the list.
Yeah, he's on the list. But in terms of matchups, I agree with you. There's not much to the Panthers. I'm excited to go to the Panthers game.
It's gonna be outdoor.
It's gonna be an outdoor game, and it's kicking off our week.
Thanksgiving
Yeah.
extravaganza. Everything's an extravaganza. Okay, Commanders. I couldn't think of much here. All I have is Micah Parsons versus Sam Howell or whoever the hell's that quarterback, because I think it could be a big quarterback sack type of game.
But there's
both of them. There's two. So, what about chat?
Sorry,
Tell us who you want to see.
On the Commanders, though, the wide receiver for the Commanders.
Hang on, let me look it up.
What the hell's his name?
Is he drafted this year?
No. McLaurin. McLaurin.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know, but
So with the proper
is he that exciting?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's good. He is someone to watch. He is a matchup. Diggs versus McLaurin. Like that'll be. I mean, we usually do a good job shutting him down, but he's not a schlub.
He's not exciting to me though. He's on any other team he'd be a fucking number 2.
I don't disagree with you on that. Yeah. But I'm just saying we're looking at the Commanders game. McLaurin versus Diggs.
Fair enough.
You might not. The other problem is you probably don't know much about him because Diggs does a good job shutting McLaurin down.
I know who he is, but
I know, but like that's why when we say he's not an exciting player, because we usually see. I haven't looked at. I only looked at a couple of his other highlights from when we were pulling those videos. So McLaurin's.
I mean, here's the thing: out of all of the teams in the NFC Beast, the Commanders did the least. I guess you could say something interesting would be Chase Young, but that's if he even makes it this far in the season. He's probably going to get injured, and so we're not going to have to worry about him. Otherwise, I mean, just there's no one on the Commanders that really interests me. Now, that could change by the time we get to this game. There could be a lot of interesting things, but at this point, moving on.
And again, my point. So, Ultra Cowboy saying Diggs owns Terry. So yeah, I want to see, like, that's a great matchup because if we can shut down McLaurin, then with Diggs shutting him down, I want to see it.
Well, now I'm going to be looking for it.
Yep.
Because it's on the list, baby. Okay,
it's on the list, baby. Oh yeah, of course, Charvey's. If you didn't have Charvey on there, I'd be disappointed.
Dude, of course, Charbonnet. I mean, this guy's going to take over in Seattle probably, and
in Seattle proper.
And we're starting with players to watch. Might as well continue. Geno Smith, only because I like the guy. I want to see. I want to just kind of watch how he plays. There's really nothing like spectacular. He's an older player. You kind of know what you're going to get with him, but he's had some growth in his, or maybe just opportunity in his later years here and taking advantage of it.
And JSN on your list versus Diggs or Gallimore, like that's a great.
Oh yeah,
that's the matchup to watch right there.
That's going to be something special right there. I'm pretty sure he's going to be against Diggs, but they might throw him around the field or who the hell knows.
Yeah, and Ultra saying Bland will give headaches to JSN. So it'll be nice to see Bland coming in there and
yeah, I mean, I guess we don't really know, but I'm assuming he's going to be the number 1 or number 2 wide receiver.
Well, he'll be number 2. He won't be number 1. DK Metcalf will stay as number 1.
Sure.
So
I don't know. DK Metcalf is
but you put someone
electric.
But you put someone like JSN. So here's the interesting thing about the Seahawks. You have DK Metcalf, and you start to load up the receiving core. Mm-hmm. Well, now you get someone like JSN in there who could arguably be a number 1 receiver for another team. And now you potentially have 2 number 1 receivers in DK Metcalf and JSN.
And Lockett.
Yeah. So, sorry. Lockett, I was just thinking, okay, Lockett's going to be retiring somewhat soon. So you got Lockett.
Well, he's the older.
You got Lockett, DK Metcalf, and JSN. That's a pretty deadly wide receiving core to go up against.
Yeah.
So if you have Lockett, if JSN and DK Metcalf get shut down, Lockett has the options to put the points in the end zone. So
he can lock it up. Luke Schoonmaker, the boatman. That's what I'm going to call him.
The boatman?
The boatman versus Bobby Dubb.
Schooner is a sailboat.
Bobby Wagner, linebacker. Now, it could just be one of the linebackers, but I think we'll probably see Scooney and Wagner face up for a few snaps anyways. So it's going to be a good test for him, the boatmaker himself. Okay, moving on.
Moving on from the Seahawks.
Buffalo Bills. There's a lot here. Now, the reason there's no players to watch list is because all of the players that we want to watch, they're in our matchups list here.
Okay.
So we got Dak versus Allen, obviously, QB. These guys are compared all the time.
Diggs versus Diggs is the one to bold. Like that out of all the matchups, like that's number 1.
This is the big one, but this is also a big one. in my mind, Dak versus Allen, because I want Dak to win. And I want him to prove to everyone that he's better than Allen. But yes,
because
the cherry on top.
It's positional, like Diggs versus Diggs.
Yeah.
It's a position versus position.
It's the hottest matchup of the year.
Like literally, that is.
It might be
the
the
hottest.
hottest matchup
Because
of the
when
year.
you got like the Kelsey brothers are in the Super Bowl, like they're not necessarily going up against each other.
Yeah, they're on different teams, but so what?
Different teams, exactly. This one is like boom, boom, boom.
These guys are playing.
Yeah.
Then we have Osiris Torrance and Connor McGovern. That is the ex-Dallas Cowboy, right? Connor McGovern?
Yep.
I think I got
Yep.
that one right. If not, this doesn't make as much sense. But still, Osiris Torrance versus Osa and Mozzie, DT. Just going to be a nice battle up front there.
And same thing with Osa and Mozzie. You could have Allen as QB in there because Allen does have some wheels on him.
Sure.
We see Allen. Have design run plays, which whether or not the Bills are gonna
Slow that down
a little bit. Von Miller versus Tyler Smith is a great one. I think the other matchup that you have on the list is Dalton Kincaid. Like not only necessarily for Overshown or Overshawn as you have it there, which is probably why if you have it typed like that and you're seen in your brain as Sean.
No, that was an incorrect spelling.
Dalton Kincaid. Yeah. Dalton Kincaid will be the one that because we talked about him so much. The Cowboys possibly were going to draft him, even though they said they weren't going to draft him. Bills moved up to get him. Dalton Kincaid would be the player to watch if we were to have players to watch on the list there.
Exactly.
Overshown, yeah.
But I think yes, he's a player to watch. But more importantly, if he's going to be starting, it's the rookie versus rookie matchup that kind of intrigues me. Potentially. Again, anything with Overshown could be thrown out the window if he's not playing the kind of coverage linebacker position. I think he's going to play, but I can't imagine him doing anything else. You said Miller versus Tyler Smith already?
Yeah,
and it's kind of obvious. Is
Ultra-
it as exciting? It's more exciting on to read it than it actually probably will be in the game.
And Ultra Cowboy, this is again when he's like he'll go and he'll be a Cowboys evangelist. Tyler Smith will win the Miller matchup, so he's already believing that Tyler Smith is going to beat Von Miller, which again I don't disagree with it. Von Miller is a great D lineman.
Yeah.
But Tyler Smith arguably is going to be a Hall of Famer. The way he's been playing, if he continues to play the way he did this last year.
This is just because I might have spelled Von's name wrong.
Anth goes, Mike McCarthy versus Buffalo Wild Wings.
That's good. That's rich. Okay, Miami Dolphins. Then
Miami.
We got Waddle and Hill versus Diggs and Gallimore, baby.
Yep, I like that.
That's going to be kind of a fun matchup.
Yep.
Here's my I think Tyreek Hill's got 1 foot out of the NFL. He's already talking about retirement. He's not going to be as explosive as he was. Yes, he will have explosive and exciting moments, and yes, he's probably going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, but I think he's peaked because of just his recent comments. Now, that doesn't always seal the fucking envelope in that scenario, but I forget who it was, but this is more of a UFC thing. But it's like, maybe it was even Dana White. It's like once a fighter starts talking about retirement, he's like, it's time to retire because you're not invested in it anymore. And in a contact sport, the second you put a foot out the door,
you're out.
I mean, you're gonna get hurt.
Now, although I recommend anyone to watch McGregor Forever because the 4-episode docuseries is fantastic. Definitely gives me a different perspective of how I view McGregor, but I think you're absolutely right. When you look at
no, keep going.
Yeah. This is I missed the Carolina game. AJ versus Lamarita.
Hang on, I just gotta roll it back.
And the Thanksgiving game was the Commanders. Technically, that's wrong. No, Carolina wouldn't be that. It would be the Commanders one.
Yeah.
Because the Commanders game is when AJ has the Lamaritas in Dallas. AJ is 0-3.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
So in McGregor forever, Conor
Yeah.
McGregor, the last 3 years, you would look at him and be like, he's not the same type of fighter he is. I watched the documentary, and obviously it's very in favor of him.
Yeah.
But it's the same idea. He's making $800 million with his fucking whiskey. He has other things on his mind. He's retired 3 other times, and he's just been struggling. So, like, I totally agree with it is a mindset. The mind is way more powerful than physical. I shouldn't say that. The mind is just as powerful as your physical attributes. If you still have the physical attributes, but your mind isn't right, it's gonna fuck you up.
No, what it shows to me, what it shows is, and we can all kind of relate to this. It's like
Move your mouse a little bit. Move your mouse a little bit.
we can all kind of relate to this just a little bit in that when you make a decision to, when you're thinking about the end of something, or you feel like you've got to a point of accomplishment that satisfies you, you're probably not going to really push it any more past that point.
Yeah,
And that's what happens to like the football players. Is like they're satisfied with the amount of money they made, or maybe the success that they've had. Not everyone wants to be a Super Bowl champion, believe it or not, or they've just realized that like the struggle is too much.
I think so. I think when you first get into the NFL, your goal is to become a Super Bowl champion, and then let's say after 10 years of being in the league, or after 8 years of being in the league, and if you're on a fucking losing team, or if you're not the player that you thought you're going to be, then the goal is probably, you know what, I don't care. You know, I know I'm now not going to win a Super Bowl. I want to just make sure I'm making as much money. But there's probably 0.2% of players in the NFL that are like, I don't really care about a Super Bowl. They all have probably dreamt about winning a Super Bowl.
I'm saying once you get to a certain point in your career, there's a lot of factors that can contribute to you being like, whether they want to admit it or not, I missed my chance. I missed the belt.
No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a certain level.
Yeah.
Derek Wilson Jr. don't know who he is, so whatever. Oh, you have Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey versus
Derek Wilson Jr. Oh, Cedric. That's supposed to be Seti. That's Seti. That's Seti the Entertainy. Seti the Entertainy. I didn't say that right. Cedric Wilson Jr. He's just still in Miami for now. Anyway,
get him back to the Cowboys. We love Seti the Ent.
And then, the final matchup is basically the top 2 CBs in Howard and Ramsey in Miami. And then
Lamb and Gallup. Let's see it, baby.
Well, I guess, I should say Cooks. Lamb, Cooks, and Gallup. Yeah.
And guess what? That's two versus 3 there. So
you're getting played, boys.
You're getting played, boys.
Okay, Detroit Lions. This might be the last one.
I'm probably the one team that I'm nervous to play against for some reason this year.
Yeah, well, they're not saggy. And they got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I really like.
Yep.
Picked him up in fantasy for peanuts. And he's going to be playing, against either Diggs or Gallimore, again, depending on how they line up. But he's going to be a problem, so that'll be a good matchup to watch. And then Aiden Hutchinson versus Tyler Smith. They're going to go head-to-head.
Head-to-head.
And players to watch, Sam Laporta, tight end. Just because he was a tight end that we talked about. So be interesting to see how he's doing.
And Aiden Hutchinson is he's kind of like a Micah Parsons. He was a linebacker, and then he's been playing more of like a stand-up defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, I know him. Sorry, I wrote him as a defensive end. Maybe he is a linebacker.
I think he's a linebacker. He's an outside linebacker.
But he plays,
similar like a Micah Parsons.
He's a rush threat.
And Sam Laporta, I mean, we like Sam Laporta. Actually, Ultra Cowboy says Cowboys beat them. Oh, hang on. CD, Cooks, Gallup, Schoonmaker, and Pollard are weapons. If this team does not make it to the Super Bowl, it will be a disappointment. I can't disagree with him in that. We have such a good offense this year that a lot of it is now can Dak leverage our offensive weapons and start to put the points up, because we know the defense is arguably better this year than last year, correct?
Yes.
So now, do we think our offense is better than it was last year?
I mean, both sides improved for as much as we can see.
Yep.
I mean, the reality is we need to see it actually on the field, but like I feel pretty happy with the improvements that happened. I mean, in the Brandon Cooks and Gallimore trades alone, the Cowboys improved the team, the core of the team. And I mean, like, I guess I should say the fundamentals, not the core. Like the fundamentals were needed were checked off. So
so Julian 424 says Gallimore ? Because you have Gallimore as so Neville Gallimore's corner now. Gilmore, Stephon Gilmore. Hey, these things happen when AJ's putting together a nice
Did I
tight
put
content list.
Gallimore? Oh, I put Gallimore for fun. Okay, we'll fix that.
I mean,
There's a lot of G's.
These will be good slides you can make for an Instagram post. Matchups to watch.
Oh yeah. Well, that's why we wrote them down here, so it'll be fun. Okay. Well, we can wrap this one up.
Aiden
now.
Hutchinson is a defensive end.
Or we can wait.
Is what so Ultra Cowboy is saying Hutchinson is a defensive end. And then he also says Mozzie is the biggest offseason acquisition. Will do so much for our defense. Yeah, I mean, the way that everybody's talking about him and watching some of his highlights, that's why I think on some of these teams, team matchups or players to watch, Mozzie is someone on the defense that we want to rip and roar. But long story short, offense and defense has improved this year. I'm really excited with a lot of our matchups. I don't think there's going to be a lot of snooze fest games. I don't think we have an easy schedule. I want the schedule to be tough because I think it's going to make the team a better team when we get to the playoffs. An easy schedule isn't great. A winning record for a regular season isn't great if you lose out in the playoffs. We're all in agreement to that. And anything short of a NFC championship or Super Bowl is going to be a disappointment.
Look, there's things that needed to happen. We needed to get better at stopping the run.
Yep.
We needed to get we needed to get more help on wide receiver, and part of that is just Michael Gallup playing up to his what we believe he can play at, and he thinks that he's better this year. A couple of articles written about him saying that last year he was still being a little bit cautious and thinking too much about his knee, but the other half of that, of course, is now Brandon Cooks is in town as well. So we've potentially doubled the or tripled, I guess, the amount of receivers. So instead of last year, basically just Lamb being the only valuable receiver out on the field,
right.
Now we'll have 3. And on defense, I think that we improved, like I said, stopping the run. And then did we get Micah Parsons some time to rest a little bit more, and have players that can come on and play and play smartly, have him sit when, the rush, his ability doesn't make as much sense. Right. Where you pull him out for the play because instead of having a 60% chance, it only has a 40% chance. Whatever. I'm throwing numbers at you. You get what I'm putting down.
Yeah. Now, so
we did get better.
You did game to game. Shaq Prods in the chat is brought up a name that I thought, if you're thinking of overall season right now, today, not without seeing training camp or preseason games, right now the player to watch for in my mind is Deuce Vaughn. He's saying Deuce Vaughn is a weapon too, but because of the amount of controversy and how big every other fucking Cowboy fan out there is saying Deuce Vaughn's going to be, in my mind, he's a player to watch. He's the first name that I want to see how he does on the field, just to kind of settle the skill set thing. So I want to know.
Oh, sure. That's fair. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Outside of Deuce's Deuce Vaughn, what are some of the other players to watch this season? And you can only pick 3. I did 4 here, but let's go 3.
3, but I don't have
besides
to pick Deuce.
But besides Deuce Vaughn, what other players are to watch?
To me, it's very easy. Obviously, Mozzie Smith. I want to see him do well, okay? And I want to see him kind of take over that front shore, that front wave, if you will, of Dallas Cowboys flooding in to opposing quarterbacks. Number 2 would be Luke Schoonmaker. I'm just so high on him. I want to see him be successful.
AJ wants to ride that Schoon.
Now, number 3 is tough because I have 2 players in mind.
Overshawn, a.k.a. Overshown.
I do want to see him do well, but I'm going to throw out a name that we haven't talked about just for the sake of it.
They don't necessarily do, and you don't have to believe in them. Like,
No.
They just have to be that player that.
No, this is someone. Junior Fiocco.
Okay.
I want to see how this cat does because if he can come in, he was drafted in a position where there is still potential that he could be a starter. If not a starter, a quality backup. And those are really good to have around. But especially for the price of the rookie, the rookie contract. So, but I think that he potentially might have the ability to start showing up in starting or playing more and more snaps at least. So he's the other cat he's my number 3.
So Deuce Vaughn, we already established. Mozzie Smith, Hunter Lepke.
Okay, yeah.
Fullback.
Yeah.
I want to see what he does because I like what he has going on there. This fullback / halfback / tight end kind of position. I think pair him up with some of our fast guys. I think we're gonna have him, Schoonmaker, and Ferguson. Like now you have a very power run, a power run offense.
Yeah.
So you put someone like a Deuce is Loose or a TP20. Can those guys provide the holes for them to kind of blast through? But yeah, Lepke. Yeah, Lepke is the guy that Lepke is one of the guys on the list. And then the easy one, easy one would be Micah Parsons because Micah's had 2 very solid seasons, but I want to see him get that depoy this year. Can he have that season where he just elevates? You guys talked about it last week. And you guys gave a hot take. I fully agree. I want to see what Micah Parsons is going to do in this season.
Okay. Well, without further ado, then.
We already said goodbye to Aunt Bess. This is your Sunday service where we drink triples like they're going out of style. Your bandwagon boys running and driving the school bus right now. We'll see you Wednesday night for the main event.
Holla!
Holla if you hear me.
Peace out. Thanks for joining us.